Pastor Roy Gerhardt from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. Back in high school, I took driver's ed. It was a class that was supposed to teach you something about the rules of the road and take you out driving and help you to learn a few driving skills. Well, there was one lesson that I really remember out of all of that course. One thing that I really took away as something that I learned that helps me even to this day. One day the instructor set up 2 rows of cones all the way across our high school parking lot. He basically created a little roadway between these cones, and he had us pull up to the end of that and said, I want you to back all the way through this set of cones all the way to the other end. Well, everyone who tried veered all over the place. It was wild. They would just veer off into the cones, veer off of the road, and waggle back and forth all the way down that course. I've had the benefit of having grown up driving my dad's work van. And so I learned to use the mirrors whenever you back up. So I just lined up the mirror with the cones on one side, and I just kind of kept that space the same all the way back along that row of cones. And so I didn't try to stay between, I just kind of followed along that one side using my mirror. Well, the instructor said, hey, that was pretty good. You learned how to drive with your dad's van and everything. But he said, I'm going to share with all of you another way that you can do this and do this very easily. And he had us in the driver's seat just turn around and look out that back window. And he said, don't try to drive between the cones. Pick a point and drive to it. It was amazing how simple that was. That if you tried to drive between the cones, you would end up waggling along, meandering back and forth between them. But if you just picked a point out there at the end of the road that you were driving toward, you could just drive straight to it. Reminds me of the way a farmer plowing a long field can use that same kind of technique in order to plow a straight row. Because if you try to line yourself up and just say, oh, I'm going to drive straight, I'm going to drive straight, I'm going to drive, you look down that row and it's gonna wave here and there. But if you pick a point all the way down the line, all the way at the other side of the field, and just drive straight at it, you can run a straight plow row. You know, Jesus talked about plowing. He said, look, if you put your hand to the plow and then look back, you're not worthy to follow after him. You see, it's that same practical kind of application Jesus is bringing. If you're going to plow across the field, you can't be looking back all the time. You can't be looking around, or your plow row is going to just wave all over the place in that field. It's going to make you crazy trying to plow the next row and trying to plant. And he said, you know, you've got to decide where you're going and then go in that direction. That's what he's saying to them. If you're going to follow me, you have to actually just get on track with that and stay that course. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to follow God by the rules. But that's like trying to back through a row of cones where each one of those cones is like a rule. And people will start to say, well, here's this rule, and here's this rule, and here's this rule. And you know what happens? As you start to look at that rule, you start to veer over toward it. And in a spiritual way, what happens is we start running up against those rules and saying, how far can I go? I mean, what can I do before I'm breaking a rule? And we'll start to ask questions like, what is it that I really have to do? And so that instead of really being steered on course to say, I'm here to do everything to follow after the Lord, we start meandering back and forth between the rules saying, I don't know, do I have to do this? Can I get away with that? What is it that I'm really allowed to do? And that's going to steer us off course. We're going to wander all over the place. We're like the person trying to plow and looking sideways and backwards all the time. In Hebrews 12, we're told that we need to fix our eyes on Jesus, because he is the author and the finisher of our faith. He's the one writing the book. He starts it and he will finish it. And if you and I want to get where God is leading us, we have to let God lead all the way there. And so that means fixing your eyes on him. We're seeing in the book of Exodus in chapters 16, 17, how the people are already struggling with that. They keep looking back over their shoulder toward Egypt. They keep challenging God's instructions. Even when he told them what to do with manna, they bent and broke those rules. They couldn't stay on course because they weren't fixing their eyes on him to follow all the way through. But if you fix your eyes on Jesus, it's a straight line to follow after him and you get to the destination that he's taking you to. May God bless you today, and as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.